AITA for telling my sister she can't bring her kids to my wedding after she demanded I pay for their flights and accommodations. So, this is a pretty long and complicated family drama that's been building up for a while. I, 29F, am finally getting married to my fiancée, 31M, after dating for 5 years. We decided on a destination wedding in a beautiful coastal town that's about a 5-hour flight from where most of my family lives. It's not some ultra-luxury resort, but it's definitely not cheap either, especially when you factor in travel costs, accommodations, and everything else. My fiancé and I are paying for most of it ourselves with some help from our parents, but it's definitely stretching our budget. Here's where the drama starts. My sister, 26F, has 2 young kids, ages 3 and 5. She lives about 800 miles away from me, so her and her family would have to fly in for the wedding. When I sent out the initial save the date invites, I included just my immediate family and my sister's husband, not the kids. I didn't outright exclude them, but I wanted to see how things would play out before making decisions about kids attending, because I was worried about how the kids' behavior might affect the ceremony and the setting in general. About a month later, my sister got in touch, and she was really insistent that her kids come to the wedding. That was fine. I love my nephews and niece, and I would love to have them there if it was manageable. But then she dropped the bomb. She expected me and my fiancé to pay for their flights and hotel rooms for the entire weekend. She said since the wedding is a big family event, we should cover it as part of family hospitality. I was shocked and honestly a little insulted. Weddings are expensive, and while I want my family there, I'm not in the position to finance a small vacation for anyone, especially not for kids. I told her I didn't think that was reasonable and that she would need to cover the kids' travel expenses. She got upset and accused me of being selfish and not valuing family. She said it was unfair that we were asking her to make the financial sacrifice of flying 2 kids across the country just for the wedding, and that since we're asking the whole family to travel, we should just handle the costs. At this point, I tried to compromise by offering to pay for a part of the accommodation or a meal, but not the full flights and hotel stays. She refused, doubled down on her demands, and started telling our parents that I was being heartless and putting money over family. Now my parents are caught in the middle and are pressuring me to find a way to accommodate my sister's request, or at least soften my stance. My fiancé's family, on the other hand, thinks I'm doing the right thing because it's not unusual for guests to cover their own travel costs. They say this is my wedding, and I shouldn't have to bankroll other people's trips. After a lot of back and forth, I told my sister that if she insists on bringing her kids, she would need to cover their flights and hotel because it's simply not feasible for us financially. I also expressed that because the venue is relatively formal and some parts of the ceremony are delicate, I'm not comfortable with having young children unattended or causing disruptions during the event. So I would be asking her to arrange for childcare during the ceremony if she brings the kids, or else they can't attend those parts. That's when she blew up, saying that I'm trying to exclude her children from the wedding and that I'm being cold and unreasonable. She also threatened not to come to the wedding at all if her kids aren't included fully and paid for. I don't want her to boycott my wedding, but I'm also firm that my fiancé and I shouldn't bear the cost of her family's travel. My parents have been trying to mediate, but keep asking if I can make any concessions, even if it means dipping into my savings. I'm frustrated because I feel like I'm being guilt-tripped for simply setting boundaries and managing my own wedding budget. My friends have told me that it's normal for guests to pay for their own travel and that I'm not wrong for wanting to exclude children from the ceremony if I'm worried about disruptions. So, AITA for refusing to pay for my sister's kids' flights and accommodations, and for telling her they can't attend the ceremony if she can't arrange childcare? Or should I just suck it up and pay for them to avoid family drama? I really want my wedding day to be special, but I'm struggling to balance family expectations and finances here. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to take care of my sister's kids after she kicked her husband out, and now wants me to be their full-time nanny? I, 32F, have always had a decent relationship with my younger sister, Emily, 28F. We grew up close, but as adults, our lives have taken very different paths. I work full-time as a software engineer and live in a different city about 2 hours away from where Emily and her family live. Emily has been married to her husband, Mark, 30M, for 6 years, and they have 2 kids, a 5-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl. About a month ago, Emily called me out of the blue, frantic and upset. She told me she had kicked Mark out of their house because of some issues between them. She didn't go into many details, but said things had been bad for a while and that Mark was being selfish and neglectful. She assured me she was fine, but that she was overwhelmed because she now had to handle everything on her own with the kids. At first, I offered to help with babysitting when I could. I took the kids a couple of weekends and helped with daycare pickups here and there. But Emily soon started asking for more and more help. She wanted me to come over every day to watch the kids while she worked and handled everything else. She claimed she couldn't afford full-time daycare, that Mark wasn't paying any child support because he was temporarily staying with his parents. She painted a picture of herself struggling to keep everything together. I was sympathetic but honest. My job is demanding and I have a busy schedule, and I was already sacrificing weekends to help her out. I told her I couldn't commit to being a full-time caregiver for her children because I had my own life, responsibilities, and commitments. I also pointed out that the kids were in an emotionally fragile state because of the sudden upheaval and that maybe professional childcare would be better suited to their needs. Emily didn't take this well. She started accusing me of abandoning her and the kids when they needed me the most. She said I was selfish and that family is supposed to support each other no matter what. She also implied that since I don't have kids of my own, I didn't understand the sacrifices a mother has to make. She went so far as to say that I was putting my career above my family and that it was a terrible look for me. To be honest, I was taken aback by the intensity of her reaction. I love my niece and nephew and want what's best for them, but I also know my limits. I don't think it's fair for her to expect me to drop everything and be a nanny full-time, especially after I already helped quite a bit. Things got worse when Emily started messaging our parents and other family members about how I was refusing to help in a crisis. They reached out to me asking why I wouldn't just step up and help my sister. I explained the situation and my reasons, but most of them seemed to side with Emily. They said family is about sacrifice and that I was being cold and uncaring. Mark eventually moved out for good, and Emily has been struggling to keep up with everything: work, the kids, and managing the household. She occasionally asks me if I could take the kids overnight or for a few days, and sometimes even hints that maybe I should move back closer to help her out. But I'm not sure I'm willing to give up my life and career for that. I told Emily that while I'm happy to help in emergencies or on weekends, I can't be her primary child care. She told me I was choosing my job over family and that if I cared at all, I'd find a way to make it work. She said it's hurtful and that I'm not being a good sister or aunt. So, Reddit, AITA here for refusing to be my sister's full-time nanny after she kicked her husband out and want me to take care of her kids constantly. I feel like I'm trying to help where I can without completely upending my own life, but she sees it as betrayal. What do you think? AITA for refusing to give my sister's wedding speech and causing a huge family drama? So, this is a bit of a long one, but here it goes. I, 29F, have a younger sister, Emma, 26F, and lately things have been tense to say the least. Our family is the typical close-knit type, or at least they were before the recent drama. I've always been the more introverted sibling, and Emma has always been the outgoing, center of attention type. Growing up, I was perfectly okay with playing a quieter role while she shined. Our parents have always favored Emma's bubbly personality, which never really bothered me until recently. Emma got engaged about 6 months ago to her boyfriend, Mark, 28M, who I've never really gotten along with. He's loud, obnoxious, and not particularly kind to me. Emma and I have had our disagreements, but I've always tried to support her major life milestones, including this one. Now, the issue, the wedding speech. A few months ago, Emma called me out of the blue, excited, asking if I would give a speech at her wedding. I was honestly surprised because she's always been the one to do the spotlight things. She said she wanted me to say a few words as the older sister, and that it would mean a lot to her and the family. I said I'd think about it, but to be honest, public speaking isn't really my thing, and I'm not comfortable being the center of attention. Fast forward to last month, Emma brought it up again in a family dinner. Everyone was there. My parents, Emma's fiancé, Mark, even some cousins. She asked me in front of everyone, "So, are you ready for your speech? We're counting on you." At that point, I just said I didn't think I was the right person to do it. I offered to help her write it or support her in other ways, but the idea of standing up and speaking terrified me. Emma got visibly upset and told me it felt like I didn't care about her or the wedding. My parents jumped in, telling me it's a family event and that I should step up. Mark even chimed in, saying it would show real maturity on my part to support Emma this way. I felt cornered but stood my ground. I told them I wasn't going to do it and that they should respect my decision. From that moment, things went downhill. Emma stopped talking to me except for terse replies on text. My parents accused me of being selfish and ruining the wedding mood. Mark openly disrespected me in family gatherings, making snide remarks like, "Maybe the shy one can just stay quiet." I've tried apologizing for hurting Emma's feelings, but not for refusing the speech because I honestly don't think that's wrong. Now, with the wedding just a few weeks away, my sister has told the whole family she doesn't want me anywhere near the ceremony. My parents are split. Mom is on Emma's side. Dad says I'm overreacting but is tired of the tension. A few cousins have messaged me, calling me a bad sister and selfish, and some relatives have outright stopped inviting me to family events. I want to support my sister and be there for her, but the speech is a hard boundary for me. I feel like I'm being forced to choose between my mental well-being and my family relationships. I'm also worried that by not doing the speech, I've made myself the villain in this entire saga. So, AITA for refusing to give my sister's wedding speech and causing this family drama? Or am I family overreacting by cutting me out over something that's just public speaking anxiety and personal boundaries? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior? This is going to be a long one, but I'll try to keep it clear and detailed. I, 29F, have always been close with my family, especially my sister, Emily, 32F. We grew up in a small town, did a lot together, and although we've had our usual sibling disagreements, I've always considered us very tight-knit. Emily has been in a relationship with her fiancé, Mark, 34M, for about 2 years now, and recently, they got engaged. The wedding is set for 6 months from now. Now, here's where things get complicated. From the very beginning, I had some reservations about Mark, mostly based on small things. I've always been a bit introverted and careful with new people, so maybe I was just cautious. But after spending more time around him, I noticed a pattern of behavior that bothered me deeply. I'm going to list some examples, so you get the full picture. Mark often interrupts conversations, especially when I'm talking. It's not subtle. It feels like he dismisses what I say or tries to one-up me. It's happened multiple times in front of others, and I've tried to brush it off, but it's annoying. He has made some offhand remarks about my career. I work in a creative field, and sometimes he makes jokes about how not real my job is or questions how I can make money doing that. I confronted him once or twice, and he brushed it off like I was too sensitive. During family gatherings, Mark has repeatedly criticized my lifestyle choices. For example, I'm child-free by choice, and he's made comments like, "You'll change your mind eventually," or "That's selfish." I've explained my reasons, but he won't drop it. On one occasion, he openly mocked my anxiety during a small family dinner. I have social anxiety, and I was visibly uncomfortable that night. Instead of being supportive, Mark joked about how I should just relax or stop overthinking everything. My family was quiet, but it hurt me deeply. Despite these red flags, Emily was happy, and I didn't want to be the person who caused tension by voicing concerns repeatedly. I hoped Mark would grow on me, or that maybe I was misinterpreting things. Fast forward to 3 months ago. Emily invited me and my partner, Alex, 30M, over for dinner to meet Mark's family. We were all sitting around, and Mark started a conversation about politics. It became heated because Emily's father expressed his views, which Mark disagreed with sharply. That's fine, but Mark's tone was aggressive and dismissive, and at one point he shouted at Emily's dad, calling him ignorant and stuck in the past. It was embarrassing, and I could see my sister visibly upset. After dinner, Emily pulled me aside and told me not to judge Mark too harshly because he's passionate and he means well. I nodded, but honestly, it felt like I was being asked to overlook unacceptable behavior. A month ago, things came to a head. Emily and Mark had invited me, Alex, and a few close family members to a weekend trip to a cabin to celebrate the upcoming wedding. At first, everything seemed fine, but Mark's attitude quickly soured the mood. He criticized the way I packed for the trip, saying I was too much and unprepared. Then, he mocked Alex's job, which is in finance, claiming it was boring and soulless. Alex was quiet, but clearly uncomfortable. Later that evening, Mark got drunk and started making fun of me again. He laughed at how I dress, my hobbies, and even my choice to live in the city instead of the countryside where the rest of the family is from. He said things like, "You're not really one of us, and you don't get it because you don't have roots here." Emily didn't intervene. Instead, she told me to lighten up and that Mark was just joking. I tried to stay calm, but it was humiliating. When I confronted Mark privately the next day, asking him to respect me, he responded that I was too sensitive and needed to stop playing the victim. That's when I told Emily I wasn't comfortable being around Mark anymore and asked if she could talk to him about his behavior. She said she would, but nothing changed. The weekend ended awkwardly, and since then, I've avoided family gatherings where Mark will be present. Now, Emily has called me and told me that I need to come to the wedding and act like everything is fine because it's their big day and she wants all family there. She said that if I don't attend, it would hurt her deeply and create a rift between us. I'm torn. On one hand, I love my sister and want to support her. On the other, I can't pretend Mark's behavior doesn't affect me or that I'm okay being around someone who disrespects me and my partner so openly. I've tried to talk to Emily about setting boundaries with Mark, but she's adamant that he's family now and that I need to accept him. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior? Or should I just put my feelings aside for one day and show up for Emily? Thanks for reading. AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay in my house after he crashed at my place unannounced and then blamed me for his bad experience. I've been holding this in for a while, but after everything that happened, I really need to get some outside perspective because my family is split and I'm starting to question if I'm really the asshole here. So here's the background. I'm a 30-year-old woman and I own a modest 3-bedroom apartment in a city about 2 hours away from my hometown. I moved here for work a couple of years ago, and I'm really proud of what I've built for myself. My sister, who is 27, still lives back home with our parents. She's been in a somewhat on and off relationship with a guy, Tom, for about a year. I don't know him very well because she usually keeps her personal life separate, but I met him a couple of times, and he seemed okay. Now, about 2 months ago, I got a late-night text from my sister. She told me Tom's car broke down on the highway while they were driving back from concert, and they were stranded with no one to pick them up. My sister asked if Tom could crash at my place for the night so he wouldn't be stuck on the roadside. She assured me it would be just for a night, and I agreed because I'm generally not the type to say no when someone needs help, especially family. So Tom comes over late at night. I let him in, gave him some water, and set up the guest room for him. I was tired and went to bed early, assuming this would be a one-night thing. The next morning, I was getting ready for work when Tom came out of the guest room. I expected him to leave soon, but instead, he told me his car was still in the shop and that he'd need to stay for a few more days. I was a little annoyed, but didn't want to make things difficult for him, so I said it was okay for a couple more days. That turned into a week. Tom was still waiting on his car, but I started noticing he wasn't making any moves to fix the situation. I offered to help him find a rental car or a mechanic, but he brushed it off. He started hanging around more, making the apartment his own, eating my food without asking, and being generally disrespectful. When I pointed out that I wasn't his hotel, he got defensive and said I was being unreasonable since I had initially said he could stay. I explained that it was supposed to be a one-time favor, not an indefinite stay. Meanwhile, my sister started visiting more frequently, and Tom would come along, which felt invasive because my apartment was my sanctuary. He even asked if he could bring some of his friends over, which I declined flat out. The tension was rising, but I tried to stay calm and polite. After about 2 weeks, I had enough. I sat down with Tom and told him clearly that he needed to find somewhere else to stay. He responded by saying that I was being cold and ungrateful and that I owed him because I let him in when no one else would. He also said my attitude made his stay miserable and that he felt like he was treated like an unwanted guest. I told him I'm happy to help in emergencies, but I'm not obligated to host someone indefinitely, especially someone who doesn't respect my space or boundaries. My sister found out about this confrontation and called me, furious that I was kicking out her boyfriend. She accused me of being selfish and said I was turning this into a bigger deal than it was. She insisted that Tom was going through a hard time and I should support him. I tried to explain that I helped out when it was an emergency, but that this was no longer that. She told me that I was damaging their relationship by not supporting Tom and that I was being unreasonable. Since then, our relationship has been strained. My parents also weighed in, mostly siding with my sister, saying family should stick together and that I should be more accommodating. But I can't shake the feeling that I was right to draw the line. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay indefinitely in my apartment after he crashed unannounced and then blaming me for his bad experience. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her open relationship and the chaos it's caused with our family. So, this is a long one, and it's been brewing for years now. I, 34F, have a younger sister, Emily, 29F, and our relationship has always been complicated but manageable. Growing up, we were close, but had our fair share of disagreements and drama, like most siblings. Our parents always favored Emily a bit more, mostly because she's outgoing and charming in a way I'm not. I've always been more reserved and logical, while Emily is impulsive and very emotional. About 3 years ago, Emily started dating someone named Jake. Jake was sweet, but seemed a little too intense for her. Within a few months, Emily announced that she and Jake were in an open relationship. She said she wanted to explore her independence and that they both agreed to see other people. At first, I was confused but tried to respect their choice. I'm pretty traditional, but hey, it's not my relationship. Over time, Emily's open relationship started turning into an open chaos. She was seeing multiple people, sometimes bringing them home or introducing them to family events. Jake stuck around for a bit, but eventually they drifted apart because apparently the openness was more one-sided than they thought. Emily also got very vocal on social media about her lifestyle, which rubbed a lot of our family the wrong way. Our parents started to subtly criticize her choices, and tensions rose. Fast forward to now. Emily is engaged again, but this time to a woman named Sarah. They met through one of Emily's partners in her previous open relationship adventures. The twist is that Emily insists on keeping the wedding open too, meaning anyone can come and potentially bring a partner. She said she wants the ceremony to be a celebration of love in all its forms, and invited a huge guest list, including people I've never met or even heard of. She even said there might be some kind of partner-swapping event during the reception, which she's openly talked about on social media and with family. My parents are divided. They don't want to offend Emily, but they're uncomfortable with the whole setup. I, on the other hand, feel like it's crossing a line. I have a very traditional view of weddings, and the idea that there could be random strangers or multiple partners or some kind of partner swapping at a family event just feels disrespectful to me. I also don't want to be around people I don't know in an environment that's so unstructured and unpredictable. My biggest concern is that this will embarrass the family and upset my parents, who are trying to keep peace despite their feelings. I told Emily I wouldn't attend her wedding under these circumstances. She flipped out, accusing me of being judgmental, close-minded, and trying to control her life. She said if I can't accept her choices and celebrate her happiness, then I'm not really her sister. Our parents tried to mediate, but Emily dug in, insisting that her wedding will be exactly how she wants it. My parents are disappointed, but understand my decision, though they wish I would give her a chance. The rest of the family is split. Some say I'm an AH for not supporting my sister, during one of the most important moments of her life. Others say Emily is the for forcing a situation on everyone that makes them uncomfortable and then attacking anyone who disagrees. I still haven't changed my mind. I want to support Emily, but this is beyond what I'm comfortable with, and I don't want to pretend to be okay with something that feels wrong to me. The fallout has been painful, and I'm worried about the long-term damage to our relationship. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her open relationship lifestyle and the chaos it's bringing to our family. AITA for refusing to give my sister's wedding speech after what happened at my own wedding. So, this is going to be a long one, but please bear with me because the whole situation is really complicated and has been eating at me for months now. I, 30M, am currently in a huge feud with my sister, 28F, and I'm honestly torn about whether I'm in the wrong or not. Background: my sister and I have always had a somewhat competitive relationship, but we got along well enough until our late 20s when things started to get tense. We have completely different personalities. She's very outgoing and thrives on attention, while I'm more reserved and straightforward. We were both always close to our parents, and for a long time, family events were smooth. But that changed drastically during my wedding last year. My wife and I planned a pretty intimate wedding, about 80 people, and we gave my sister the honor of being the maid of honor. I did this not because I felt obligated, but because I wanted to extend an olive branch and show that I value her. She was very excited about the role and promised to give a speech at the reception. I was a little nervous about it because she has a habit of turning the spotlight onto herself, but I trusted she would keep it appropriate. The day of the wedding went well overall. The ceremony was beautiful, and everyone was having a good time. When it came time for the speeches, my sister took the microphone and delivered what I thought would be a heartfelt tribute to me and my wife. But instead, she launched into this lengthy, very awkward speech that was mostly about herself, her struggles, how our family never appreciated her enough, and how she felt overlooked. She even brought up some old family drama that had no place at my wedding, like how she claimed I stole the spotlight from her growing up. People looked uncomfortable. My wife was visibly upset, and I felt like the moment had been hijacked. The MC tried to cut her off after a while, but she went on for almost 10 minutes. When she finally finished, there was an awkward silence, and then the reception moved on, but the mood was definitely dampened. I confronted her later that night, telling her that the wedding was supposed to be about me and my wife, and that her speech was selfish and inappropriate. She said I was being unfair and accused me of not understanding her pain or giving her enough attention as a sibling. Fast forward to now. My sister is getting married in 2 months, and she asked me to be her best man. That would normally be fine, but I know she expects me to give a speech that paints her in a positive light, and I don't want to go through the same experience I had at my wedding. When I told her I didn't feel comfortable giving a speech, she flipped and accused me of holding a grudge, being petty, and not supporting her. She's been publicly posting about how hurt and betrayed she feels that I won't do this for her. Our parents are caught in the middle, pressuring me to give the speech for the sake of family unity. But I'm honestly fed up. I don't want to be part of a drama-filled moment again. I don't want to be forced to publicly praise someone who's treated me poorly, and I don't want my sister to use the speech as a platform for her own issues again. Am I the asshole for refusing to give my sister's wedding speech after how she acted at mine? Or should I just put my feelings aside and do it to keep the peace? I feel like if I do it, I'll be walking into the same trap again, but everyone else thinks I'm being stubborn. What do you think? AITA for refusing to help my sister after she threw a massive tantrum over my wedding guest list? This happened about a year ago, but the fallout is still very much ongoing. I, 29F, recently got married to my now husband, 32M. The wedding planning process was mostly smooth, but the biggest source of drama was my younger sister, Emily, 24F. Emily has always been a bit dramatic and a bit selfish, but I didn't expect things to blow up quite like they did. Here's the background. Emily and I have had a complicated relationship. We grew up fairly close, but started drifting apart in our late teens. She often expects things to go her way and throws tantrums if she doesn't get them. She's also quite controlling and competitive, which has made it difficult for us to get along. I've tried to keep peace over the years, but our relationship has remained strained. When I got engaged, Emily immediately started acting like the wedding was going to be all about her. She insisted she should be my maid of honor, which I agreed to because I wanted to avoid conflict, but then started making a lot of unreasonable demands. One of the biggest issues was the guest list. The wedding was small and intimate. My husband and I chose to invite close family and friends only, about 70 people in total. I explained to Emily that we had a strict limit and couldn't invite all her friends or distant relatives she wanted to bring. She took this badly and complained that I was cutting her out and that it was unfair to her. Things escalated when Emily demanded that she could invite a group of about 10 people she called her close friends. I told her that due to space and budget, we couldn't accommodate extra guests beyond the immediate family and a few close people for both sides. I suggested she invite them to the after-party instead, but she refused. Emily's attitude became so toxic that she started to threaten not to come to the wedding unless she got her way. She claimed that if she wasn't allowed to bring her friends, she would make sure everyone knew what a terrible sister I was. This was a lot of pressure, and honestly, I felt guilty for a minute. But I stood firm because it was important to me and my husband to keep the wedding manageable and not be overwhelmed. On the day of the RSVP deadline, Emily sent me a barrage of texts, accusing me of being selfish and ruining her life. She even messaged my parents, trying to get them to intervene. My parents sided with me, but encouraged me to try to find some middle ground. I tried again to offer alternatives, but Emily refused. Eventually, I had to cut her off from the planning group chat because she was causing too much drama. I also told her firmly that if she didn't respect our decisions, she wasn't welcome to the wedding. She responded by throwing a huge fit in front of our family during a dinner a week before the wedding. She yelled and cried, calling me a bridezilla and saying I was betraying her as a sister. My parents were upset, but they supported me in the end. Emily did not attend the wedding. Instead, she posted passive-aggressive stories on social media about how hurt she was and how I chose my husband over my family. This upset some extended family members and caused a lot of unnecessary drama. Here's where I might be the asshole, or at least that's what Emily and some others say a few months after the wedding. Emily reached out to me, claiming she wanted to mend things. However, she immediately started demanding favors and gifts, like asking me to pay for a trip for her and her friends, supposedly as a makeup gesture. I refused, telling her that if she wanted to rebuild our relationship, it needed to be sincere and not based on material things. She accused me of being cold and ungrateful, and we've barely spoken since. Some family members say I should have tried harder to accommodate Emily's wishes, or that I'm too harsh by cutting her out over a guest list dispute. Others think Emily overreacted and was being manipulative. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to give in to my sister's unreasonable demands about my wedding guest list, and for cutting her off when she became toxic? Or should I have done more to keep the peace? Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to help my sister plan her wedding because she keeps trying to control every detail and ignores my opinions. I, 29F, have always been the responsible and organized one in my family. My younger sister, Emily, 26F, on the other hand, has a very free-spirited, go-with-the-flow personality, which usually works out well for her, but when it comes to big events, it tends to cause chaos. We've always had a decent relationship, but the past few months have been a roller coaster since she got engaged and started planning her wedding. Emily got engaged about 6 months ago to her fiancé, Mark, who is a wonderful guy, and everyone loves him. The wedding was originally planned for next summer, which gave us plenty of time to prepare. At first, Emily seemed excited to have me involved in the planning since I'm known for being detail-oriented and good at organizing events. I was happy to help because I love my sister and wanted her big day to be perfect. However, things quickly became stressful. Emily insisted she wanted a small, intimate wedding with just close family and friends, but she also wanted an elaborate setup with expensive decorations, a 5-course meal, and a live band. The problem was that the budget she mentioned early on didn't align with these expectations at all. When I tried to discuss a realistic budget and helped her draft a plan, she ignored my suggestions and told me she had it all figured out. Then the real problem started when she asked me to help pick out the venue. I found some beautiful and affordable options that matched her vision, but Emily dismissed them because she said they didn't feel right. She was fixated on one location, a fancy hotel ballroom that was way over our budget. When I explained this, she got defensive and said I didn't understand her style. The next big issue was the guest list. Emily wanted me to help finalize it, but every time I suggested trimming it down to keep it manageable and within budget, she'd add more people back in. At one point, the guest list ballooned from around 50 to over 120 people without any extra budget. I pointed out the logistics wouldn't work with the venue and catering, but she brushed it off. I started to realize that Emily wasn't actually looking for help. She just wanted me to agree with her plans no matter what. Whenever I tried to raise concerns or give advice, she'd accuse me of being controlling or ruining her day. It was exhausting, and honestly, I felt like my opinions didn't matter. About 3 months into the planning, Emily asked me to take on a bigger role and manage most of the arrangements, including the decorations, the seating chart, and coordinating with vendors. I told her I was willing to help, but only if we could communicate and make decisions together. She said she wanted full control over the decisions and that I should just execute what she wanted. That felt like a huge red flag to me, because planning a wedding is a huge task, and I didn't want to be held responsible for things I didn't have say in. I ended up telling Emily I couldn't commit to helping anymore unless we could collaborate as a team. She got really upset and accused me of abandoning her and being selfish. She even went to our parents and said I was being difficult and unsupportive. They tried to mediate, but it didn't help because Emily wouldn't listen to anyone except herself. Fast forward to now, the wedding is less than 2 months away, and Emily has taken over all the planning herself. She's stressed, overwhelmed, and honestly looks miserable. She reached out to me again, asking for help last week, but I told her I still wasn't comfortable jumping in unless she was open to working together. She responded by saying I'm ruining her wedding and that she wishes I was more like a sister. I feel torn. I love my sister and want her to have a beautiful wedding, but I can't keep getting walked over and blamed for her stress when I'm trying to help set boundaries and be realistic. Was I the asshole for refusing to help her because she wouldn't listen to my input? Or should I have just gone along with everything she wanted to keep the peace? I don't want to lose my relationship with Emily, but I also can't be her wedding planner if she treats me like an employee. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to help my sister plan her wedding because she keeps trying to control every detail and ignores my opinions. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of how she's treating my wife. This is going to be long, so bear with me. I, 34M, have a sister, Emily, 30F, and she's been engaged to her fiancé, Mark, for about a year now. The issue started a few months ago when she asked my wife, Laura, 32F, and me to be part of the wedding party. Specifically, Emily wanted Laura to be one of her bridesmaids. At first, it seemed like a nice gesture. Laura and Emily were never super close growing up, but they were cordial enough. Laura was happy to say yes, and I was happy for both of them. I don't get involved in weddings beyond showing up, but I figured this would be a nice way for my wife to bond with my family. Things took a turn pretty quickly. Emily started sending Laura these extremely demanding texts about every little thing. What shoes she should wear, how she should do her makeup, how much Laura should spend on gifts, and so on. Laura mentioned to me that Emily was being very rigid and borderline rude, but she brushed it off for a while because she wanted to be supportive. Then, the real problem began when Emily started talking about the guest list. Emily and Mark had a very clear vision of a small, intimate wedding, and they were pressuring Laura to tell me to limit my family guests. My parents and my older brother's family have always been involved in our lives, and Emily was basically asking Laura to tell me not to invite them or to downsize the guest list dramatically. Laura was shocked by this and didn't feel comfortable asking me to do that. On top of that, Emily started excluding Laura from important pre-wedding events like dress fittings and planning meetings. When Laura asked why, Emily said it was just easier without her there. Laura was hurt and told me she felt like Emily was deliberately pushing her out of the wedding. I tried to talk to Emily about it, but she said that she was just trying to keep things simple and that Laura was overreacting. I told her that if she had an issue with Laura, she should speak to me directly instead of putting Laura in uncomfortable positions. The final straw came about a week ago when Emily called Laura to demand that she stop wearing a particular perfume on the wedding day because Mark was allergic. Laura said she doesn't even wear that perfume anymore, but Emily wouldn't accept that and said it was non-negotiable. It felt controlling and unreasonable. Laura told me she was seriously reconsidering being a bridesmaid and asked if she could just back out and attend the wedding as a guest instead. I was supportive of her decision, but I also felt torn because I wanted to keep peace with my sister. So I tried to mediate again, but Emily doubled down and said that if Laura wasn't a bridesmaid, she didn't want me there either because family is supposed to stand united. I was stunned. I explained that this was absurd and that I wasn't going to be blackmailed into controlling my wife's role in the wedding. I told Emily that if she wanted a peaceful wedding, she'd have to accept Laura's boundaries or face the consequences. I then informed Laura that she was no longer obligated to be a bridesmaid if it was going to be that toxic. Yesterday, Emily sent me a final message saying she was deeply disappointed and that our relationship might never be the same. She said I was being selfish and putting Laura ahead of family. I haven't responded yet because I'm still upset. Laura feels relieved but guilty because she hates that our relationship with my sister is deteriorating. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding under these circumstances and supporting Laura in backing out of the wedding party? Was I wrong to stand up to Emily, or should I have just let Laura deal with her behavior to keep the peace? AITA for refusing to let my sister stay with me after she burned bridges with our entire family and expecting me to bail her out? So, this is a long one, and I'm still kind of stuck on whether I'm the asshole here or if I'm justified in my actions. I, 34 am, come from a family that, frankly, has always been tight-knit, but also very high maintenance emotionally. My younger sister, 28F, has been the black sheep for a while now, and things recently escalated to a breaking point that's left me questioning everything. Background: our family is a pretty intense dynamic. My parents are divorced, and both are quite involved and vocal about everything, often bringing my sister and me into their drama. Growing up, my sister and I were close, but also had very different personalities and coping mechanisms. I've always been the responsible one, the person who tries to keep the peace and fix things. She's always been more impulsive and rebellious, which has gotten her into trouble more than once. Over the past few years, my sister's behavior has gotten progressively worse. She's been involved in a series of toxic relationships, dropped out of a couple of jobs without notice, and generally burned a lot of bridges with family members because of her attitude and choices. She's also struggled with addiction issues, which she's been open about, but hasn't always taken steps to manage properly. Because of this, a lot of our family members have distanced themselves from her, saying they can't deal with the drama or the emotional toll anymore. The real issue started about 2 months ago. My sister got into a big fight with my mom, which ended with her sending a series of harsh texts accusing my mom of favoritism and emotional manipulation. My mom was hurt and stopped responding. The rest of the family sided mostly with my mom, saying my sister had crossed a line. This fight effectively cut off most of her contact with them. A week after the fight, my sister called me, sounding desperate. She had lost her job. Again, her apartment lease was ending, and she had nowhere to go. She begged me to let her stay with me temporarily while she got back on her feet. I live in a modest 2-bedroom apartment by myself in a mid-sized city. I'm not rich by any means, but can afford my rent and expenses comfortably. Here's where things get tricky. I have a stable job that requires me to be reliable and maintain a certain routine for mental health reasons. My apartment is small, and I value my space and peace of mind because I work from home and deal with a lot of stress. I'm also dating someone seriously, and while she's supportive of me, she's not close to my sister and has expressed concerns about her come and stay. When my sister asked to stay, I told her I couldn't have her move in indefinitely, mainly because of the limited space and the tension it would bring to my life. I said I could help her find a shelter or look for short-term housing options and I offered to lend her some money for a security deposit if she could find a place. She was furious and accused me of abandoning her and not being family enough. She said I was the only one she could count on and that I should be willing to help her out no matter what. I stood firm and said no, emphasizing that helping her wasn't just about money or space, but about protecting my own well-being. I also told her I couldn't be responsible for her choices, especially since she hadn't made much effort to improve her situation or repair relationships with the rest of the family. Since then, my sister has lashed out on social media, posting about how I'm the worst brother ever and how I'm choosing my comfort over family. Some mutual friends have reached out to me asking if I'm okay or if I'm sure I'm doing the right thing, which has made me second-guess myself a bit. Honestly, I feel guilty but also exhausted. I'm torn between wanting to support my sister and recognizing that enabling her or letting her take over my life isn't healthy for either of us. The rest of the family, while hurt by what she did, understands my position and hasn't pressured me to take her in. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister stay with me after she alienated the entire family and expecting me to bail her out? Or am I justified in protecting my own life while still trying to help her in other ways? AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she made me choose between her and my boyfriend? So, here's the long story. This all started about a year ago and has snowballed into something I never expected. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and my younger sister, 25, has always been the dramatic one in our family. We've had our ups and downs, but lately things got intense. My sister, let's call her Emily, got engaged about 6 months ago. She's always been obsessed with weddings, dreaming about the perfect day, the perfect dress, everything. I was genuinely happy for her at first. We grew up pretty close, but over the last couple of years, our relationship has been strained because of some differences around how we approach life and family. About 3 months ago, Emily started asking me to help plan her wedding. At first, I was willing to help with the small stuff like addressing invitations or choosing flowers. But then she started making very specific demands. She wanted me to come with her to dress fittings, bridal parties, and even be in her bridal party. I was fine with some of that, but what made things complicated was her constant pressure. Here's the catch. I have been dating my boyfriend, Jason, for almost 2 years. He's great, we get along well, and I love him a lot. Jason is very important to me, obviously, but Emily never liked him. She thinks he's not good enough for me because of his background and career choice. He works in a small family-owned business, nothing flashy. I thought Emily was just protective, but she's been openly rude about Jason whenever he was around or when I talked about him. Anyway, when Emily started planning her wedding, she made it clear she did not want Jason involved. She said she didn't want that kind of energy at her big day. I asked her if it meant I couldn't bring him as my date, and she said yes. No Jason at the wedding. That was annoying but manageable. I thought, okay, maybe she wants a day to be all about her, fine. But then she pushed further. She told me I couldn't bring Jason to any pre-wedding events either. No rehearsal dinner, no bachelor/bachelorette parties where Jason was invited. None of it. Basically, if Jason was coming, I was not welcome. This was hard for me because Jason and I have a really close relationship, and we usually attend big family events together. I explained to Emily that excluding him felt unfair, especially since my family is very important to both of us. The breaking point came when Emily sent me a message that basically gave me an ultimatum. If I wanted to be part of her wedding, I had to choose either her or Jason. She said she didn't want me to bring Jason or even be with him during this time because it would ruin the vibe and cause unnecessary drama. I was shocked and hurt. I told her no, I would not choose between my sister and my boyfriend. They are both important parts of my life. I offered to attend the wedding alone, but wanted to bring Jason to other family events. She refused and said if Jason was coming, I was not welcome at all. So, I told her I couldn't help plan her wedding under those conditions. I said I wouldn't attend if she insisted on this rule. She flipped and accused me of being selfish and not supportive of her big day. She's told our parents and family that I'm being difficult and disrespectful. Since then, I've stayed out of the wedding planning. I did not attend the rehearsal dinner, bridal party events, or any of the pre-wedding gatherings. On the day of the wedding, I showed up alone, She said that was the only way, but was met with cold shoulders and snide comment from her and her friends. I felt completely unwelcome. The ceremony was beautiful, but the tension was palpable. Jason wasn't there, and it felt like a part of me was missing. After the wedding, Emily told me she's disappointed in me and thinks I chose wrong. Our parents have tried to mediate, but Emily is stubborn and won't back down. She's even said that if I don't fully support her wedding and respect her wishes, she doesn't want me in her life. I feel torn. I don't want to lose my sister, but I also can't sacrifice my relationship or my principles. I think it's unreasonable for her to demand I exclude my boyfriend and choose between them. I'm asking Reddit, AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding and for standing my ground about bringing Jason? Was I wrong to not just comply with her wishes to avoid conflict? Or should I have put her happiness above my own relationship? I want to hear your thoughts. AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she excluded me from the planning and then demanded money? So here's the deal. I, 28F, have a younger sister, Emily, 25F, and we have always been pretty close growing up. We had our typical sibling fights, but nothing too serious. Our parents are divorced and mostly out of the picture emotionally, so Emily and I kind of lean on each other a lot. About 6 months ago, Emily got engaged to her boyfriend, Jake. At first, I was really excited for her and offered to help with wedding planning, since I've planned events professionally before. I'm organized, detail-oriented, and love throwing parties, so I figure it would be a fun way to spend time with her and support her during this huge milestone. However, as soon as Emily got engaged, she basically shut me out of the entire process. She said she wanted to keep the planning small and simple, which was fine, but then she started making all these decisions with her fiancé and her close friends, excluding me completely. When I asked her directly if she wanted my help or input, she said no multiple times, sometimes ignoring me or saying she was too busy. It really hurt because I felt like she was pushing me away intentionally. I tried to respect her wishes, but I was still a little sad and confused. Fast forward a couple of months. Emily's wedding date is set, and invitations start going out. I noticed that my name is on a guest list, but I'm not part of the bridal party or even asked to do anything. I thought maybe that was okay since she said she wanted it simple, but I still felt a little hurt. Then, things got worse. A few weeks ago, Emily called me out of the blue and told me that the wedding costs had gotten a lot higher than she anticipated, and she was struggling to cover everything herself. She said she and Jake had planned a lot of the wedding themselves, but still needed extra funds to cover things like the venue deposit, catering, and decorations. She asked me if I could contribute financially. Here's the thing. I'm not exactly rolling in money, but I do have a decent job and some savings. I was willing to help if I could, but I was shocked when Emily told me the amount she wanted, $3,000. $3,000. She said that since I wasn't involved in planning or the bridal party, the money would be my way of contributing. When I told her I couldn't just hand over that much cash, especially since she basically shut me out of the wedding, she got defensive and said I was being selfish and unsupportive. I was really upset. I reminded her that I had offered to help with planning multiple times, but was excluded, so I didn't think it was fair to be asked for a large sum of money, just because I was family. I told her I would chip in what I could, but that $3,000 was impossible for me, and felt like an obligation I never agreed to. She called me cold and ungrateful and said maybe I wasn't really her sister anymore if I couldn't support her on her big day. I was so hurt by that because I honestly do want her to have a great wedding. I just don't think it's right to expect money when she shut me out completely. I offered to help in other ways like decorating, running errands, or even helping set up on the day, but she declined all those offers. Our parents are siding with her, saying that weddings are expensive and family should chip in, and I'm making a big deal out of nothing. But I feel like this is about more than money. It's about respect and family bonds, and I'm honestly feeling pushed aside and unappreciated. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to give my sister $3,000 for her wedding when she excluded me from planning and basically told me to pay instead of helping? Should I just suck it up and pay to keep the peace, or am I right to stand my ground? AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she ignored my mental health struggles for years. So, this is going to be a bit long, but I want to give enough context because I genuinely can't tell if I'm the asshole here or not. I, 30F, have a sister, Emma, 28F, who has been planning her wedding for the past year. She's always been the golden child of the family, very charming, very organized, and honestly, she's the favorite of pretty much everyone, including my parents. I'm the quieter one, more introverted, and have dealt with some mental health struggles over the years, mainly anxiety and depression. I've been in therapy on and off for about a decade, and for the past 3 years, I've been working with a psychiatrist and have been on medication that finally seems to be helping. Here's where things get complicated. Growing up, Emma and I were close-ish, but as we hit our late teens and early 20s, things got tense. Emma was always super critical of me, everything from how I dressed to how I talked about my mental health. She made jokes about me being too sensitive or dramatic when I was open about my anxiety attacks or depressive episodes. Our parents mostly brushed it off, saying Emma just had a sharp wit and that I was too sensitive. I tried to talk to Emma multiple times about how her comments hurt me, but she'd either laugh it off or get defensive. Over the years, I slowly stopped sharing anything about my mental health with her, and I mostly keep my struggles private now. Fast forward to about a year ago, Emma got engaged. She was ecstatic, and honestly, I was happy for her. When she announced it, I congratulated her and asked if she wanted me involved in the planning. She said yes, but she was pretty vague about what help she wanted. I thought maybe she just wanted moral support. As her wedding planning went on, I noticed she was making a lot of decisions without consulting me or even telling me. She invited all our mutual friends, but I got no invite to any of the bridal parties or pre-wedding events, which was odd because we share a lot of friends. I didn't say anything at first because I thought maybe she just wanted a small wedding. Then, a couple of months ago, she called me and asked if I could help her out with some DIY decorations she was planning. She said she needs someone detail-oriented and thought I'd be perfect. I was excited and said yes. When I showed up to help, I realized she had only invited me because no one else was available that day. It was a last-minute thing, and she didn't thank me or even acknowledge how much time I was putting into it. I was feeling a little used, but kept going because I wanted to support her. Then, the week before the wedding, she asked me if I could house sit for her dogs while she and her fiancé went on their honeymoon. I said yes without hesitation because it wasn't a big deal. Here's where things really started to unravel. During the week I was house sitting, I had a serious panic attack. I've had a few in my life, but this one was bad enough that I had to call a friend to take me to the emergency room. I was hospitalized overnight and ended up missing some work. I told Emma what happened, expecting some sympathy or at least some concern. Instead, she was distant and said something like, "You really can't be sick this week. I have enough on my plate." I was crushed. I just had a major health crisis, and she acted like I was a burden. I tried to explain how hard it was for me to ask for help or be vulnerable, but she just brushed it off. After I got out of the hospital, I decided to take some time off work to focus on my health. I reached out to Emma again, hoping to talk things through, but she stopped responding to my messages. When I saw her at the rehearsal dinner, she barely spoke to me and avoided eye contact. The wedding day came, and I wasn't invited to participate in any formal way. No bridesmaid dress, no seating at the head table, nothing. I went as a guest, but I felt invisible. I kept to myself and didn't try to engage much. After the wedding, Emma posted a bunch of photos and thanked everyone who helped her. I noticed she didn't mention me once, even though I'd helped with decorations and dog sitting. I confronted her about it, and she said she didn't think I did that much and that maybe I should focus more on getting my own life together before worrying about hers. At that point, I lost it. I told her how hurt I was by her lack of support and how she'd ignored my mental health struggles for years, only reaching out when it was convenient for her. Our parents got involved after I vented to them. They think I'm being unreasonable and say Emma was just stressed about the wedding. Emma says I'm making a big deal out of nothing and that I'm jealous of her. Now, I'm staying with a friend because I can't face my family right now. I haven't spoken to Emma in weeks. Some friends say I should just let it go and move on, while others think Emma's behavior was really selfish. So, AITA for refusing to help Emma anymore, or for being upset with how she treated me during such a vulnerable time? Or should I just suck it up because it was her big day? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior and being labeled selfish by my entire family. This has been a nightmare for me. And honestly, I don't know if I'm in the wrong or if my family is just being unreasonable. I'm 32F, the middle child of 3 siblings. My older sister, Emily, 35F, is getting married in about 2 months. The problem lies not in the wedding itself, but in her fiancé, Mark, 36M, and how he has treated me over the last year. I recently made the decision not to attend the wedding, and now my whole family is calling me selfish and accusing me of ruining Emily's big day. A little background. Emily and I have always been close, but not without some rivalry. I've always been more introverted and independent, while Emily is outgoing and social. We never fought seriously, but we were never super close either. When she met Mark about a year ago, I didn't think much of him initially. He seemed polite, funny, and charming, pretty much the opposite of my type, but I wanted to be supportive. Over time, though, things started to shift. Mark began to be extremely critical and dismissive toward me. It started with small things, making sarcastic comments about my job, my lifestyle, and even my appearance. For example, he would say things like, "Still stuck in that boring office job? That must be thrilling." Or, "Are you sure those clothes are age-appropriate?" I initially tried to brush it off, assuming he was just joking or that he didn't realize how it came across. But it only got worse. At family gatherings, he would interrupt me or talk over me constantly, making me feel invisible. When I tried to engage him in conversation, he would either ignore me or respond with a cold, dismissive tone. At one point, he made a comment about me being the awkward middle child during dinner, which felt like a low blow in front of everyone. I confided in Emily about this several times, hoping she would talk to Mark or at least be more aware. Unfortunately, Emily brushed it off as me being overly sensitive or jealous. She said Mark had a dry sense of humor and that I was reading too much into it. I tried to believe her and kept my distance from Mark, hoping things would improve or that I could at least maintain civility for her sake. The breaking point came a few months ago when Emily invited me to her engagement party. Mark had a few drinks and was visibly intoxicated. During the party, he openly mocked me in front of Emily's friends and extended family, calling me the boring sister who never leaves her apartment and making jokes about my social anxiety. Emily laughed nervously but didn't intervene. After the party, I texted Emily expressing how hurt and humiliated I felt. She replied that I was too sensitive and needed to get over it if I wanted to be part of the family. This response crushed me. I realized that Emily was prioritizing her relationship with Mark over our sisterly bond. Since then, Mark's behavior toward me hasn't changed. He often posts passive-aggressive comments about me on social media, which I've screenshot and shown Emily. She refuses to see a problem and has accused me of trying to sabotage her happiness. Fast forward to now, with the wedding less than 2 months away. I told Emily I wouldn't be attending if Mark was going to be there because I didn't feel safe or respected around him. I offered to attend a smaller pre-wedding event or meet up with her privately, but she said that if I didn't come to the wedding, I was throwing away our relationship and being selfish. This split the family. My parents tried to mediate, telling me I should put my feelings aside for Emily's sake. My younger brother said I was making a mountain out of a molehill and that I should just smile and deal with it. I feel like I'm the only one standing up for myself. The night before the wedding, Emily called me crying, begging me to reconsider. She said Mark was trying to change and that it would mean everything if I was there. I told her I needed more than empty promises, especially after all the disrespect and emotional pain I've endured. Now, my entire family's upset with me, and Emily barely talks to me. I'm exhausted and hurt, but I also don't want to compromise my mental health just to attend a wedding where I won't be treated with basic respect. Am I the asshole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior? Or is my family wrong for expecting me to just tolerate it? AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she ignored my own wedding entirely? I, 30F, come from a fairly tight-knit family, though tensions have always simmered under the surface, especially between me and my younger sister, Emma, 27F. We were close growing up, but as we got older, things became complicated mostly because of how differently our lives and priorities developed. Our family dynamic has never been perfect, but I've always tried to maintain a respectful, supportive relationship with Emma, despite her sometimes being selfish and overly dramatic. To set the scene, I got married about a year ago. It was a small but meaningful ceremony, mostly family and close friends. I always imagined Emma would be there, maybe even involved in some way, like a bridesmaid or helping with the planning. She had been engaged for a couple of years, but had postponed her wedding multiple times due to work, financial issues, and what felt like endless planning drama. While I was planning my wedding, I included Emma in all the key moments. I asked her opinion on dresses, decorations, even the music. I wanted her to feel involved and special. But as the wedding day approached, I noticed Emma seemed increasingly distant. She barely responded to messages, canceled meetings to try dresses, and was generally distracted. I figured maybe wedding stress or her own engagement drama was taking over. The day of my wedding came, and Emma was a no-show. No message, no call, no explanation. I was crushed. Later that evening, I got a brief text. Sorry, couldn't make it. Work emergency. I was hurt, but tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Work emergencies happen, right? Months passed, and I barely heard from her. She didn't congratulate me properly, and when I asked her about it, she gave vague excuses about being busy. I found it strange, but told myself to let it go. Meanwhile, I kept trying to support her in her wedding plans. Emma's wedding date was finally set for a few months after mine. She asked me to be a bridesmaid, and I agreed despite everything. I wanted to show I was there for her, to keep the peace and maybe mend the gap between us. However, once she started planning, things got weird. Emma asked me to help with pretty much everything, from choosing the venue to managing the guest list, and even helping with the cake tasting and decorations. I was happy to help, but I noticed she was taking over my time and energy more than I expected. I was working a demanding job and balancing my own life, but I made an effort because family matters. About 2 months before her wedding, I asked Emma about the plans for my own involvement on the day. I want to know when rehearsals were and what I was expected to do. That's when she dropped the bomb. She told me she had already decided not to include me in the ceremony at all. No bridesmaid duties, no walk down the aisle, no speech, no involvement beyond showing up. When I asked why, she said it was because she was worried about drama and didn't want people talking. I was stunned and hurt. This was the sister who ignored my wedding but expected me to be her wedding planner and maid of honor, then wanted me to just be a background guest. I confronted her about it, and the conversation got heated. She said she felt hurt that I had made her wedding about me by bringing up my own wedding issues and that she just wanted a peaceful day. I tried to explain that I never made her wedding about me and that I was just confused and hurt by the way she treated me. I reminded her how she never showed up for my wedding and how I had been supporting her, sometimes at the expense of my own mental health and work. She said that was in the past, and she wanted to move forward without bringing up old issues. I told her that if she was going to exclude me and not treat me like family, I couldn't keep being her unpaid wedding planner and emotional punching bag. I told her I wouldn't be helping anymore with the planning and that I'd only attend the wedding if invited as a regular guest, not a bridesmaid or anything else. Emma blew up, accusing me of being selfish and petty, and said that if I didn't help her, she wouldn't invite me at all. Our parents got involved and told me I should just put the past behind me and support my sister on her big day. But I felt like they were ignoring the fact that she had ignored my wedding completely and then expected me to do all the heavy lifting for hers while being sidelined. I stuck to my decision, and Emma ended up doing most of the planning herself or with help from other friends. The wedding was beautiful, but I was barely acknowledged. No thank you, no speech, no real connection. Since then, the distance between us has only grown. Now, my parents and some friends say I'm being an asshole for refusing to help and not being more forgiving. They say weddings are stressful and that I should just support my sister despite everything. But I feel like I'm being taken advantage of and disrespected. So, AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she completely ignored mine and then excluded me from hers. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.